Welcome to Learn to Live Stress-Free. This is Christine Wright with Dr. Robert Wright Jr., your go-to wellness coaches of StressFreeNow.info. Our featured guest today is Carey Davidson, founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness, speaking on the benefits of integrative medicine. Carey Davidson is the founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness, an integrative healing arts and medical practice based in New York City. Tournesol is the exclusive location in the tri-state area for vibroacoustic sound therapy on a liquid table. Carey developed a treatment combining her gift for intuitive energy balancing and vibroacoustics to help people recognize their own innate abilities to create new possibilities for a profound and purposeful life. Carey speaks on panels about integrative medicine, writes regular holistic health columns, and gives private sessions. She has been covered in W Magazine, The New York Observer, and NBC News. Carey is also founder and executive director of Tournesol Kids, a 501c3 nonprofit organization empowering children with holistic strategies to live healthy, resilient, and successful lives. You can find out more about Carey's work at tournesolwellness.com and on her Instagram and Facebook pages. Welcome back, Carey. We're so happy to have you here again. Audience, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
Great, Carey. We had such great fun when we spoke to you last time, so I know our audience is anxious to hear more about the good things that you do in New York City to help people stay strong and healthy. And since so many people come to New York, I want to invite our listeners to consider whenever they are planning a visit to New York City, or if they know they have family or friends or colleagues that may be transiting New York City, to check out Carey's website and connect with her. Because New York is a great transit point, that it's not just the people that live in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, but so many tourists and people visit that they could just check you out, Carey. So that would be a lot of fun. So, Carey, I understand that you're a strong proponent of incorporating complementary and alternative medicine as a preventative disease care methodology. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about how you employ this approach to improve the healthy well-being of your clients?
Absolutely. So for me, I feel like it's really important for people who are experiencing, for example, chronic disease or chronic illness, to build a resilient body and mind, and to make sure that their body and mind are as healthy and as strong as possible to help support them through whatever treatment they have to go through. Not that they should forego conventional treatment, but that they should be as strong as possible. I mean, research shows that your emotional state can really impact your ability to heal. And I know I've experienced that, and that's part of the empowerment of, this image of the sunflower. Keep your head up. Know inside that it's not going to be so bad. And just that acknowledgement can help bring you out of a dark place that will then improve, your speed of healing from different things. So improving the resilience of the body and mind, also, like you said, it's also with preventative care, right? So we created a program called the Integrative Primary Care Program. And what I started to see through my research before I started the center was that, we spend so much money on treating disease in progress, right, here in the United States. We spend so much money on health care here, more than double the countries below us. And yet our mortality rate is lingering like somewhere around 40th in the world. And so I'm like, all right, what are we doing wrong? And where can we inject a change? Where's the right place and to do what? So a lot of the reason why we develop chronic disease as we age is lifestyle. And, that's reported. in scientific research, where our stress levels, what we're eating, whether we're moving or not, it's all impacting the development and progression of chronic disease. And so I was thinking, well, where should we inject this component? Where should we be looking at lifestyle? And in my opinion, it needs to be at the primary care level, because so many of us wait until we're in crisis to say, maybe I should see a nutritionist, or maybe I should talk to someone about my constant low moods. And so we created the integrative primary care program to address all these variables at the primary care level, so that certainly people who, and it's primary care, it's everything. So many people come who are already managing chronic disease, but also many people come, it's a well visit, and they want to know how to age, health in a healthy way. And so incorporating these components of what are you eating, how is your sleep, what are your stress reduction techniques, what are your mind-body techniques, what does your blood work say, what is your family medical history. So it really combines all of the modalities together and all of the different levels of assessments to get a really good framework to see, okay, here's where I am across all components of my health, and here's what I need to do to stay, to stay healthy or to move towards health, and always with always putting the most natural means of achieving health first whenever possible, so that we're not going to jump right into a bottle of pills first. We first might say, as a clinical team, let's try meditation for 3 months and see if we don't need to move towards blood pressure medication, or let's try certain manual therapies first to see if we don't need to move towards a surgical option. And all of this is overseen by a clinical primary care team. So that's kind of why I feel like it's important to look at, to incorporate this complementary and alternative medicine component, because we over-medicate, and we medicate pretty quickly. And there needs to be a longer conversation to see what else is going on. Who is this person? And how can I help this person build a more resilient body and mind so that they don't get sick easily? So that they don't move into chronic disease as they age.
Well, Carey, I want to thank you for that, because the message you just laid out resonates very strongly with Christine and I, because there are really two issues that you're overlaying what you're talking about. One is prevention, which is it's always better to be ahead of the curve, where instead of getting sick, you nip something in the bud before it can gain a toehold in your body or whatever. But the other issue is what I call the anti-paradigm, which is that the traditional approach just deals with symptoms and symptomology, whereas the wellness approach deals with looking at the underlying causes, and it approaches it from a holistic standpoint, looking at the total being. So instead of, someone comes in and they've got whatever issue going on, instead of just patching the person up with a Band-Aid, what I hear you saying is, like, what's really going on here? And the thing that's really amazing about all of this is that and it doesn't really matter what the issue is, when you are able to successfully attack and address the underlying cause of anything, whether it's anxiety, chronic pain, stress, it has a cascading effect. We talk about it like a domino effect. You press the first domino and they're lined up, and it could be 1,000 dominoes. So, the person is looking better, they're feeling better, their mood increases, their work performance increases,
right.
their
I
dating life, their relationship life.
Yeah.
They go to a family event, and people are saying, "Hey, what are you doing? You look great."
Yes.
And so, right. this goes right into my next question, which is the thing that you talked about in the previous episode with us was that you said when you went to Provence, instead of seeing line after line of store fronts, you saw beautiful flowers and how that boosted your mood in a healthy way. And so I want to say not only how beautiful that is, but leading into something that you wrote on your blog, which when I was reading your blog, I said, oh, this is great what Carey has written, because what you said is what we're talking about. You said in your previous life, I couldn't resist that. In your previous viewpoint, which was almost like a bifurcation point, a before and after. Previously, you had one view, and now that your view of what it means to be alive and to be healthy and well, you say that you had a 180-degree turnaround of your viewpoint about what it takes to be healthy and how you want to live your life. So could you talk a little bit about how you came to take the opposite view? I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but when I read your blog post, I said, oh, she is actually saying her view now is the opposite of what it was before. So can you tell our audience whether or not that my assessment is correct? And then because there are many people that, for example, a person that used to smoke cigarettes or somebody that was a boozer, they stopped smoking cigarettes and they stopped boozing. So that's actually an opposite way of approaching the world and still be able to have fun. I remember we were someplace and Christine doesn't drink alcohol, and the joke I always tell is that, at our wedding, I think she drank a half a teaspoon of champagne. And so someone said to her, they said, how could you go to a party and not drink? And she said, well, I don't drink, so I can be at a party and not drink. And so this thing that you have to be at a party and you have to be high or drinking, that's a different way of thinking. So could you just give our audience your view?
Well, sure. So my healthcare model for most of my life that I was brought up in was the conventional model. You live your life, and when something's wrong, you go to the doctor, and the doctor fixes you, and you can go back to your life. And there was nothing wrong with that. That's the way it was, and that's the way it was, as a child and through young adulthood and throughout my marriage and with my own children. And it's funny, I didn't even know really that there were things from a nutrition standpoint or a more holistic approach. I didn't know what homeopathy was. I didn't know that there were mild preventative measures other than, exercise and eat more vegetables, the food pyramid, right? So I would say the major turning point for me there was when my marriage was ending. It was the summer of 2009. Things, emotionally were in upheaval for me. And I was losing weight rapidly at a rate of about a pound and a half a day for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I was having horrible pelvic pains. And I thought, you know what? This really stinks. My marriage is ending, and I'm dying. It's like, really? And I thought, okay, it must be cancer. I don't know what else it could be. So I went to my gynecologist, and he examined me, and he said, Carey, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have never felt like this before. I'm losing so much weight. And he said, well, what's going on in your life? And I broke down and cried on the treatment table. I said, my marriage is falling apart. And he said, oh, so I know what you need. And he went over to his desk and he wrote me out a prescription and sent me on my way. So I go and I fill this prescription and I come back to pick it up, and it is a bottle really as big as my head of Xanax. And I had heard of Xanax. I mean, who hasn't heard of Xanax? But I didn't know exactly how it was going to affect me. I didn't know exactly how it worked. I didn't know more than what was on the, the label on the bottle about how and when to take it. And I figured, all right, this is going to help with this horrible pain I'm having, and maybe I'll stop losing weight. And so I, that night started with the pain again. And it was right before I had to go to parent-teacher conferences at my kids' school, which I had to get into the car and drive to. And so I took a Xanax so that I could deal with this pain. And very soon after I took it, I couldn't control my body so well. I was thinking something is weird. My body feels weird. I don't think I could drive. And I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if I was having a reaction to the medication or if the medication was supposed to make you feel like this. And I started to have a panic attack. So here I am having a panic attack on anti-anxiety medication. And I'm thinking something is wrong with this picture. And
Wait. I have to interrupt you. Could you say that again? I mean, we're chuckling, but this is really not funny. Could you just say that again?
Which part?
That you're having a panic attack on an anti-anxiety.
You're taking anti-anxiety medication that's giving you a panic attack.
Yes. I was panicking. I thought, well, here, maybe I'm dying now. Like, what is happening? And I was having a major panic attack on anti-anxiety meds. And I remember laying on the couch on the phone with one of my friends because I was terrified and home alone with my kids. God forbid one of my kids needed to be taken to the hospital or something. I couldn't get behind the wheel of a car.
Well, let me ask you this. In that particular case, I'm just curious. I'm sure our listeners would be curious too. What happened? Were you able to make it to the parent-teachers meeting? Since you said you didn't feel you could drive?
I didn't go. And I scheduled private times to talk with their teachers. And they were little at the time, so they weren't in high school where you have 15 different teachers and classes. They each had one teacher. So it wasn't so hard to reschedule. But yeah, I thought there's something really wrong with this picture. And now I know you're not supposed to do this, but what I did then was I flushed them all down the toilet. And I apologize for that, but I was like, this is not for me. And I didn't know where to turn. I didn't feel like I had a psychotherapist who was particularly supportive. I didn't know who among my friends was the right person to talk to. I really had no idea what to do, so I kind of retreated. So the same way I retreated from this bottle of pills, I kind of went inside and just got quiet. And once I was in that kind of quiet space, the right things started to come to me. So I found the right therapist who was really into meditation and really into intuition and helped me quiet enough to hear myself and to hear my own guidance, and encouraged me to spend some time walking around in the woods. Like, go for a walk in the park and see what comes up. And I had never really done any of that. And through that process, I came to take a few quiet weekends, long weekends away, and that trip to the south of France. And I started to get more in tune with nature, with myself, and I just felt more settled. And I thought, okay, I don't need a bottle of pills, but what is it that I need? I went completely from, my whole health was guided by antibiotics, psychotherapy, and my rabbi. I mean, that was it. That was mind, body, spirit. I mean, who needs anything else? Then into wait a minute. I think I fit somewhere in this equation. I need to listen to myself. I need to know what I need. So in order to know what I needed to find out some more information about my body. What does my body need? What should I be exercising a certain way for my body? Should I be eating a certain way for my body? And then I started to open up this world of, wait a minute, what is nutrition? How does it work? What is stress? What is cortisol? What does it do to my body? Oh my God, we have cortisol? you know? And so I just had to retreat, and I probably spent a good year or two kind of in retreat from this whole model that I thought was the way we heal. And started to empower myself and educate myself and bring more people into my life who could help guide me in a beautiful way without needing to own my process, but to empower me to know how to find my own process. So that's kind of how I went from a very different model and paradigm of health to realizing that my health had so much more to do than the antibiotics I would need if I got strep.
That makes a great deal of sense, and we will talk more about this in a moment. So, audience, we'll be back on Learn to Live Stress-Free as we continue our conversation with our featured guest today, Carey Davidson, founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Wright Jr., the Stress Relief Doctor, co-host of the Learn to Live Stress-Free podcast series. I'm an author, speaker, and stress management wellness coach. My published study is the first to show the connection between stress reduction, grief recovery, nitric oxide spiking, and the relaxation response. And my practical application of this knowledge helps you relieve the stresses of everyday life. I have the tools to dissolve your pain points quickly and effectively. Email me to find out how you can start to feel better now at stressfreenow.info/contact. That's stressfreenow.info/contact. Have you been procrastinating about completing an important project or pursuing a treasured dream? Christine Wright specializes in helping her coaching clients to lay out clear, elegant strategies. She shows you how to quickly build your confidence to uncover and eliminate your habitual patterns of resistance and self-sabotage. Christine helps you discover those meaningful insights that will get you to do what works so you can celebrate your successes. Go to stressfreenow.info/contact to let Christine know that you're ready to live your ideal life now. Again, that's stressfreenow.info/contact.
Welcome back to Learn to Live Stress-Free as we continue our conversation with our special featured guest today, Carey Davidson, founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness. Carey, I have to say, as I listened to you, and you were just talking a minute about letting go, and, the pills that your doctor gave you, you found that didn't help you at all. That put you way far away from where you were going. And the last time you were with us, you spoke a bit about it's not necessarily either or, that, yes, there are a great deal of practices that, quote-unquote, traditional Western medicine offers us that's necessary to our healing and well-being. But what you did to let go, take that walk in the park and take that courageous trip all by yourself to the south of France, could you share why you believe that these strategies are so important to just reducing your stress and improving your well-being, just to take this time of a walk in the park? How is that healing for us, and why?
Yeah. Well, what I see a lot, and I personally attest, I still experience it myself, a lot of us go into fear, and fear then immobilizes us to moving ahead and doing what we need to do to help ourselves, to help others, to move through painful experiences. And so overwhelm and fear can take hold in our body, right? So then we have the stress hormone that is excreted into our body, the cortisol and the adrenaline. And when our bodies kick into this state, we can't really be effective. We're frozen, in a sense, frozen with fear in that space. And it's much easier to go into the dark places than it is to pull yourself up and start to make, the positive changes that will produce actually where we really want to be, this happy, healthy state. And so I think, there's a couple of things that are important, and one I mentioned to you is like walking in the park, right? And the way I kind of categorize that is physically changing up the energy. And so when I work with people, doing the intuitive work, we not only do the diagnostic part where we see, okay, where does this live? Where is this living? Where is this coming from in your body to manifest this physical or emotional block? But what do you need to do to move through it? And one of the common things we talk about is changing up the patterns, right? So we get so used to doing things a certain way, believing a certain way. We get into our habits where we always get off at the same subway stop and walk the same way and go to the same coffee shop and wear the same, color outfits and get our hair cut the same way. And so we get into these routines, and if we don't physically make a change in our, if you want to say habit or routines, nothing's really going to change. There's no opportunity for new energy to flow into your life. So one of the things I talk about is like change your environment. So go for a walk. That's why a lot of people might say, you know what, if you're starting to feel upset or angry, leave the room. Take a walk. That's an easy one. Walk into the bathroom, or if you're in a meeting where you're feeling stress or anger come up, say, excuse me, I need to go get a glass of water. It's doing that changes your energy, changes the possibilities of, like, imagine, getting off the subway stop earlier and walking a few extra blocks to work. One, you're actually moving your body more, so you're getting some exercise, which is great, but you're also increasing the opportunities of running into someone who could change the trajectory of your life in a positive way. You never know.
As you say that, I need to interject here. I had an extraordinary flash as you were speaking. Mm-hmm. I was teaching, and I was in my classroom preparing, and a young gentleman walked in. I don't know, he may have been about 9 years old. He was very polite, and I could see he was filled with rage, and he wanted to know if he could borrow a chair from my classroom. So, of course, I asked him, well, why do you want the chair? He was having a discussion with a classmate, and he wanted the chair so he could hit his classmate. So I said, well, the chair is plastic and metal. The plastic mightn't do too much damage, but it most likely will hurt him. And the metal definitely will. So I said, I don't think that's a good idea. So I chatted with him a little while, and he was able to let off steam. And he left without borrowing my chair to use. So taking a walk in his case was helpful, because he came to my classroom, and we were able to have a little conversation so that he could feel better.
Oh, my God. Holy moly. Yeah. Yes.
So changing your environment is a good thing. And what Bob and I find that we enjoy doing is, here in South Florida, we're not too far from the water, so spending some time on the beach, we find that very energizing and healing and restful and restorative.
Yeah, I miss that. I would love to be near a beach. What am I talking about? I live in New York, but it's not the same as palm trees on the beach. I think beaches combined with palm trees are especially healing and wonderful.
Very definitely. Now, Carey, we had spoken before when we were offline, and I was fascinated by the work. You founded a nonprofit for children, Turn Us All Kids, and I love the model that you have, that you're talking about the children using their superpowers. And the superpowers that you talked about, it seems to be what you live your life with, were compassion, emotional intelligence, empathy, grace, intuition, optimism, all these wonderful things. How do the kids respond? How do the students respond to this? And how do the parents notice how their children are learning these skills from you?
So the kids are great, and the kids respond so beautifully. Physically you just see a change in their posture. They hold themselves higher. They, by starting off saying, here's your superpower, and that everyone has one, instead of starting off saying, well, here are the things that are wrong with you. You're not good at focusing. You have ADHD. You have this. You have, here are all the diagnoses that we found. We kind of flip it around and empower kids to say every single child has a superpower, and here's yours, and this is what this means for you. So it's back to that empowerment model where we're strengthening them from the get-go, and we help them self-identify their own strengths and challenges. And once they know what their strength looks like, and they know what it looks like and feels like to be off balance, and what characteristics come up for them, if they're this type of power or that type of power specifically, when they're not in their center, when they're stressed or insecure, we also then give them little techniques that they can do to bring themselves back into balance. So that they know what it means to be a hero, and they know exactly what they need to do to always feel powerful. And the other piece of this that was really key to it is that it's also there's also a compassion component built in, that in order to be a superhero, it's not only perfecting your own skills at being balanced, but it's sharing your unique gifts with the world. So there's always the homework that we teach kids is to go home and teach someone else this wonderful gift so that they can also be a superpower. So it's like spreading the love. It's teaching, from a young age that power is not about being the best and the only one and having all of the toys and all of the best toys and no one else. It's about finding your own power, finding your own beautiful, balanced state, and being able to share it with others. So kids don't generally see this. So it's exciting, one, I think, because it's a whole new perspective that everyone can achieve. And they're really empowered by the idea that they can help other people succeed. They're also empowered by the idea that there's this growth mindset. So everything that we teach comes from a growth mindset, teaching children that they're not limited by a diagnosis. They're not limited by, you don't do well in math, or you're really not a good storyteller, or, you're not good at physical education class. But teaching them that from a growth mindset perspective, their minds are ever expanding, and they can build more and more.
I gotta cut you off here. What are you trying to make me start crying? You talk about the opposite. This is the opposite of the punitive educational model, which is that you're bad. Don't not stop. Don't do this. The incessant testing. Christine and I have talked about this for years. When you look at the Waldorf school model or the Montessori school model or the Suzuki school model, they have a maximum of 8 to 10 children in a room. In fact, I was speaking to a master teacher earlier this week, and he was saying, I was telling him about there was an experiment from Harvard a couple of years ago, I don't know if it's still running, where they were going to put 60 children in a classroom in Brooklyn with 2 teachers. If you just can imagine 60 children in a classroom. And Christine, I said, they would never do that in an affluent area, put 60 kids. And so the master teacher was saying to me that the research shows you don't have to have gone to Columbia Teachers School of Education to know that 25 children in a classroom is too much. And I was really surprised when he used that number. I said, really, 25? He said it's known that to get the really, really top level achievement is 10 children maximum in a classroom. So I said, wow. So what in an average school, especially public school, how many public schools would have 10 kids in a classroom? Probably zero, if I'm thinking, because but what he was saying is it's a known thing. So I'm listening to you, and then the thing is, what happened to me is that you took me back in time, because I went to Stuyvesant High School in Manhattan, and Stuyvesant's a kind of competitive place. I'll just say that. Anybody that knows Stuyvesant would smile when I would say that.
Yeah.
And so the joke was, instead of us focusing on which football team won, we were racing around saying, did you make the cut to get a Regent scholarship? Was your SAT score high enough, etc. So, my point is that I remember being in a classroom and this was a math teacher, and he had the habit of pulling pop quizzes. So, and the pop quizzes were always on the homework. So if you hadn't done the homework, you automatically fail. There's no way you could pass the pop quiz. So we walk into the classroom, so you have to picture this. There'd be like this feeling of dread. Is this teacher, I'm not going to say the teacher's name, but is this teacher going to do it to us today? And so we never knew, because that was the whole point. It was like whack-a-mole. He'd go 2 weeks, no quiz, and then we go 1 week, and every single day we had a quiz on the homework. So we never knew. And so that was part of the point, to keep you off balance, which is the opposite, again, of what you're talking about. So I remember this one day he did a pop quiz. We came in, he said, put your books under your chair, and he did the quiz. And he would mark the exams immediately on the spot, no waiting to the next day with this guy. And there were several students that, to no surprise, that failed, and they failed miserably. And what I mean was that a couple of students got less than 20% on the exam, and he called each one of those students up. So you got to picture this. You're in high school, and so you think of like the stage that you are in your life, and now you're being humiliated, not just embarrassed, humiliated. And he called those students up, and he held up their grade, and with a red circle around. I remember one student, I'm not going to say the name, but I think she got a 4. And then the other student got like a 9 or 10 or something like that. And he had the 3 students standing there, and he said, the 3 of you together don't add up to 20%. So how humiliating is that? So to end the story on a positive note, that teacher, what we found out later, was bullying the students like that, because that's what that is, because he wasn't happy in his personal life. And so one day he came into class, and he was laughing and smiling. He said, class, there won't be any more tests for the semester. So now we were really nervous.
Right.
And so what happened was he had fallen in love. And after that, he was a marvelous teacher. He was a marvelous teacher, but the point is that love changed him, and then he became kind and wonderful and helpful. And then I remember him saying, "Anybody needing a college recommendation, come see me." So
oh my God!
Ending, but that's why I said, "Are you trying to make me cry?" Because you're talking, what you're saying is so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh wow, I love that story, and it's so true.
And it's a true story.
And I can see it even, managing that in my own life, like as a parent, when I feel, compassion and love and caring and kindness, I'm a much better mom. And when I feel, the opposite, I have to go into my, go home at the end of the day, take my deep breath, do my change up of energy, and really focus in on not allowing my negative feelings from the day to impact my child. And same thing as a teacher, same thing as any caregiver or doctor, it's so true. And what a story, my goodness.
Well, you know what, too, Carey, I see from what you're talking about, your Turn Us All Kids program is you're showing the children a positive model, that part of the brain, I mean, the way we're hardwired as humans, we look for what's wrong and we tend to criticize. And to counterbalance that, to get past that prehistoric aspect of our brain, is to be able to, it's all this talk of gratitude, of to being able to freely compliment someone and just to look at the positive. That's something we have to cultivate because our prehistoric brain was not wired that way. Our prehistoric brain is always looking for what's wrong, which can be helpful. But really, if we're talking about growth and health and well-being, we also want to look at what's working in our lives. So it really sounds to me like you're doing this in this program and giving the children a chance to look at those superpowers.
Exactly.
Rather than being constantly criticized by an adult, a parent, or a teacher. Because what I found is that children really need to have a place where they're listened to. I think that makes for a strong personality when someone notices you and acknowledges your superpowers, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Bob and I want to thank you for being our guest again today and sharing the wonderful work that you are doing. And I'd love for you to take this time to tell our audience how they can get in touch with you. And, Bob and I are ready to make an appointment right now. So.
Oh, I can't wait to see you guys. I can't wait. So, sure, my website is www.tournesolwellness.com, and I'll spell it. It's TOURNESOL wellness, WELLNESS.com. And my direct email is Carey, CAREY, @tournesolwellness.com. And you could reach our office at 646-395-1114. And you can find us on Facebook at Tournesol Wellness and on Instagram at Tournesol NYC. And if you'd like to come for a visit, we're at 26 East 36th Street between Park and Madison in Midtown Manhattan.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so everyone, just so you know, you can check out Carey's website at www.tournesolwellness.com, and that's TOURNESOLWELLNESS, and you can email her at Carey, CAREY, at Tournesol Wellness. Her office number is 646-395-1114. That's 646-395-1114. And she is on Facebook at Tournesol Wellness and also on Instagram at Tournesol NYC. And you can visit her office at 26 East 36, and that's in New York, Manhattan, between Park and Madison. Carey, we want to thank you again so much. And audience, please check out Carey's work.
Thank you. Thanks, Christine.
Carey, what final thoughts or key idea would you like our audience to take away from today's broadcast?
I would say start early. Start with your kids. Help empower your kids. Help them understand that they are powerful, right? That if I knew that I could make the choice to turn toward the sun as a kid, I think I probably would have prevented a lot of the turmoil that I felt as a later teenager in my 20s growing up. So I would check out Tournesol Kids. The website for Tournesol Kids is tournesolkids.org, and there's a lot of activities and quizzes and interactive fun there, but really start early. That's what I would say, is start with your kids. Help empower yourself and empower your kids with compassion and understanding for all the different variables that can really impact a long, healthy, happy life.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm looking at Christine now. I want to know what our superpowers are, and I know people in our audience. Do I need to grab a cape, or am I doing my superpowers where I don't need a cape? So I think that'll be great. So, Carey, I want to thank you so very much for being our featured guest today. And audience, I want to thank you for listening in wherever you are and whatever time zone you're in. You know, we appreciate so much that our listeners tune in from all over the world, in Australia, Japan, in Europe, in Africa, and Asia. So we look forward, as always, audience, to receiving your comments about our show. If you please let us know if there's anything you'd like to see us cover on a future show, or if there's a guest like Carey you'd like us to invite back, because they have given you amazing information that's helpful and beneficial, that helps to improve the quality of your life. So you can contact us through our website with your feedback and suggestions at any time. Remember, listeners, if you'd like to experience the same benefits our coaching clients get with us, including learning how you can get more results in your day and easy ways to dissolve your chronic pain, stress, and anxiety or grief, then give us a call at 954-900-2179. That's 954-900-2179. Mention that you heard our Learn to Live Stress-Free Now podcast show, and you'll receive a free gift from us. Call today to schedule your appointment. For Christine Wright, this is Dr. Robert Wright, Jr. of StressFreeNow.info. Until next time, be safe and be well.